It's my first time.
First time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the first time. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Babylon 5 for the first time. Brent. We're doing a podcast.
Oh.
We're on.
Okay,
right?
you go ahead and start, man. No, go ahead and start.
Okay. Oh, I did.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah, I'm like 20 minutes in. We've been going for a while.
Awesome.
But you can start at the top.
Okay. And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm also watching Babylon 5 for the first time. We are two veteran Star Trek podcasters watching Babylon 5 for the very first time, and we are searching for Star Trek-like messages within this series that was supposed to be like a ripoff, or Star Trek was supposed to rip off of it, or something of that nature. I don't know. That was a thing way back in the day. And we're also trying to decide if we should have watched this one sooner.
And while this is not a Star Trek podcast, like we literally say that in the title of this thing, we're going to pull in the references. Like if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm wearing a Deep Space Nine t-shirt as we record this, right? So this is what's going to happen. But to help us out with this, we've decided that we're going to have a rule where each of us can only make up to 3 Star Trek references per episode. And whenever we do, you're going to hear that. But last week, Brent, we didn't even come close.
We didn't?
2 or 3. No. So
Really?
Is this like AT&T? Do we get rollover minutes?
Ooh.
What do you think?
No.
So I agree there. But you know what we did do a lot of last time? We did a lot of Star Trek comparisons in the part that we literally have called the Star Trek comparison like part of the show.
Right.
Do we need to meter that?
No, because that's literally that part of the show. So, and I mean, frankly, as people have actually even said in comments on YouTube and various places, like we are what we are. We're Star Trek podcasters. And the gist of this show is watching it and kind of comparing it to what we know as Star Trek podcasters and applying that lens and that filter. So we're going to say them, but no, I don't think we get to carry them over.
All right. It's 3.
But this is a 2-man democracy. So, you could stalemate us here, Jeff.
Well, we could stalemate, and then we could ask all of our incredible listeners to break that tie. But I don't think we're gonna have a tie. I'm good keeping it to 3 an episode because it could get pretty out of hand.
Yeah.
But you mentioned comments, right? Comments, reviews, emails. You've been incredible. We've heard such incredible things. We love engaging and interacting with you. And Brent, I wanted to take just a couple of minutes. I want to read some of the comments we've gotten. Does that sound cool?
Hey, man, let's settle in because this is probably going to be the best part of this whole episode, to be frank with you. Let's go.
All right. So I picked a couple coming into here. So we're on YouTube. If you're listening to this again, we're on YouTube. And if you haven't watched us on YouTube, you need to know that that's just our unedited video. It's us going. You get to see warts and all. And I am talking about our appearance, but I'm also talking about the process. You get to see the sausage made. So definitely check us out on YouTube.
And honestly, it's probably more fun, to be honest.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, we are 2 wild and crazy guys, after all.
Right. Middle-aged dudes.
Right. Well, Con1670 on YouTube says, LOL, you lost me when you complained about Takashima being replaced. First, yeah. Oh, it gets better. First, she was beyond terrible. Couldn't act her way out of a wet paper bag. That being said, enjoy the show. Season 1 is akin to Next Gen Season 1, as it's generally not very good, but has some gems here and there. Things do really pick up closer to the end of season, and seasons 2 to 4 are really good.
Well, Con
1670.
Thank you, Con 1670, for that. And first of all, how dare you? Because Takashima was awesome. Now, I will give her, I may be giving her like first season pilot episode passes just to be fair, but I really liked her. Like I wanted to see more of her. Like I saw just enough that I was like, she's going to go somewhere. And frankly, honestly, it's what I saw in Ivanova, the first episode that she came in. Like I saw enough that I was like, okay, I think I'm going to like her, but, and I'm right. The more I see Ivanova, the more I really really like her. She's becoming a favorite character for sure.
100%. Well, and honestly, and so here's, we're going to say this again a couple times. Please don't spoil things for us. Don't hint at things, anything like that. So someone did, I'm not going to read their comment, but it's appropriate to this in a message they had sent that Takashima, in the originally aired piece, they actually had her go in and ADR all of her lines because she was too harsh. And so I think if people watched this initially, they saw like re-looped vocals that they tried to soften her up a little bit. And what you and I watched was the original performance that I had no problem with. I thought she was great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just to that point, even saying things like, oh, well, you need this episode because it sets up XYZ. I don't even want to know if it sets stuff up, because this is a fully clean, we know nothing about this show. This is a fully clean first watch show. And I don't want to know. Just sit back and just say, here's what you can say. Just wait.
Yeah. Well, or what you can do is what Sean Van Dam at Damn Sean, that's SEAN, said to us on Twitter.
He wins the Twitter naming category for tonight.
Totally, 100%. But you can get us at Babylon First on Twitter, and this is the perfect way to spoil things for us. He says, really enjoying the episode so far. I think I need a buzzer for every time I say, oh, they're going to go there. Or, no, that's not a throwaway thing. That's the tweet. It's perfect.
That's fantastic, because that's exactly what we want to not know, if that makes sense at all.
Work your way through those negatives. We do not want to know this not negative thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We will discover it when we get like here's where I'll tell you could do that. If Jeff and I get to a spot way down the line where something is a callback to like the first episode, once we get to that one, like way down the line, and we miss it, point it out.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. But don't tell me that this is going to come back later. Like, I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Just let me live in the idea that this was stupid. And then let me be surprised, and let Jeff be surprised, not just me. It's us, both of us together.
We'll be surprised together.
Let us be surprised when it comes back and turns out not to be a waste.
Yeah. And this whole
I feel like I'm yelling. I feel like I'm yelling at people too much now, Jeff.
I know, but I think we want to keep it fun, right? But we also want to be true to what we're doing. I'll do one more here. So
every once in a while, we got to lay it down on people.
Exactly. Like, no more spoilers.
Right. All right. So wait, we've had a YouTube. We've had the second one was a Twitter comment.
Yeah. So I'm going to do one that we have from our website. So we have a website, Babylon 5 First, the number 5 first.com. And
is that like a 1ST, or is it like spelled out?
It's spelled out. So Babylon, the word, the number 5, FIRST. Babylon 5 First.
But 5 is actually a number.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because Babylon 5, right?
Sure.
It's just, it's how you do it. So Patrick sent us an email through there. We've got a thing. You can send us emails. I'm going to read part of it. It's a great email he wrote, and I'm going to read the first bit. He says, I came upon your podcast on Stitcher. Hi, Stitcher. Good to have you here.
Stitcher.
And I consider myself fortunate I found your show very nearly at the start of this epic series. You see, as a science fiction fan, I have a soft spot for Babylon 5. Not only do I remember watching it in the 90s, not an easy task since it was frequently subject to day and time changes, sometimes switched channels before finding its final home on TNT. But he's also got the entire series, all the movies, both attempts at a spin-off series, and the Lost Stories from 2009. I've also got J. Michael Straczynski's autobiography, Becoming Superman, on audiobook, read by Peter Jurassic, Londo himself. So thank you, Patrick. There's a lot of stuff. I had no idea there was Lost Stories.
I didn't know that there was a reboot attempt in 2009.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be part of this show?
I don't know.
I signed on for 110 episodes and then maybe a movie or two.
Well, I did think too, it might be fun for us just on this, knowing I like the name of his book, Becoming Superman.
Sure.
Maybe we listen to that, and that's one of the ways we cap this thing off or something. Yeah, we'll see. We have a long ways to go, though.
Yes, we're on episode 5.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out then.
Cart, horse, get back in order.
There we go. Well, thank you, Peter.
That was Paul. And Mary. Sorry.
Ringo.
Right.
Thank you, Paul. You're awesome. Thanks for that. All right, Jeff, let's get to today's episode. Today, we are discussing Parliament of Dreams, which is an episode that has exactly bupkis to do with dreams or parliaments. Jeff, I can't even with this episode right now. Spoiler alert to my opening thoughts. So for those who haven't seen this one in a while, Jeff, you got to take this one, pal. I can't do it.
Well, it's Christmas on Babylon 5. Wait, nope. It's Passover on nope. Ramadan? Well, actually, it's all the things. You see, Earth Central called for a week of celebrating each and every species' dominant religion on the station. What a festive time for everybody. Unless your name is Ambassador Jakar. That's right. Jakar's back. So's Londo. So's Delenn. In fact, almost everybody is in this episode. Except for
we even get the bug dude.
Yeah, I love
the bug dude.
Bug dude has been in this episode more than Talia or Kosh have been in this series. So yes. I'm gonna guess Talia's in the opening credits. So Jakar, poor Jakar. Shocking, I know, but he has made some enemies amongst the Narn. And one of them, Durag, hates him so much that with his dying breath, he hired an assassin from the Assassin's Guild, the Tenta Makur, to kill him. While he's being ultra paranoid, we have the opportunity to celebrate the Centauri and Minbari religions. Sinclair runs into an old flame, Catherine. They went to the academy together, and they've been on again, off again ever since. Delenn finally gets an aide, like Vir Kodo for the Centauri and Kodoth for the Narn. Oh, nope. Kodoth had an unfortunate accident with an airlock, and so now we have a new aide for Jakar, who's equally as aggressive and strong as Kodoth was, and it's Netoth. Well, Delenn's aide, Lenier, is quiet, he's shy, he's by the book, and absolutely in awe of Delenn. So Jakar suspects everybody of being the assassin, and he knows that he's close to the end when he wakes up with a horse's head with a black flower in bed with him. The assassin finally strikes, and it was Netoth all along. Oh, nope, that was a ruse. Also, just a ruse so she could save his bacon from the actual assassin. Jakar and Netoth hit it off and look like they're going to work really well together. They send the assassin T'Pari off, and they set it up so it looks like he's violated Assassin's Creed. The Tenta Makur are eventually going to find him, and they're going to kill him. It's delightfully evil. Well, Sinclair seems to have also found a new partner. He and Catherine are going to give it an actual go this time. Now, Brent, you kind of gave a little spoiler there, but people don't necessarily know this about you, but you have a formal education in religion. That alone makes me want to know what you think about this episode.
This episode was boring. And that is the absolute worst thing an episode can be, in my opinion. Make me mad, make me angry, make me laugh, make me feel something. None of that is as bad as being boring. If this podcast today, Jeff, winds up only being about 15 minutes long, then that's fine. Because the best part of this whole episode was the storyline with Jakar. It took about 15 minutes of the 45-minute episode.
If that, really.
Right. And like the rest of it was just boring. And I mean, we kind of get the payoff at the end with the, Sinclair going down the line and all the Earth's religions, or at least what we think are all the Earth's religions. There's a bunch of people that never got named. And that, I mean, that's kind of like a cool little thing, but like it was, I didn't care at all. And the whole Catherine thing with Sinclair, like here's the thing about Sinclair. We've talked about this in the last couple of episodes. They've done nothing to make me care about Sinclair. I don't care about him. No. I don't care about his old loves. He's just a guy right now. And like, I really need them to help me, care. I will tell you the thing I loved about this episode though.
Okay.
I loved Netoth. I am so glad they brought her on, because I think this is going to be the beginning of a beautiful relationship. Because I got to tell you, they got me.
Yeah.
Because when she came in and they're like, I said, it's not going to be her because it's too obvious, which means it probably is her. And when it turns out to be this other guy who, by the way, I don't know who this other dude was. the actual assassin, I loved him too. His makeup looked I loved him as a character. I was like, please let this guy stick around, because his stuff was better than Jakar. I thought he was so good. He had just a character that came through beautifully.
He wore glasses for some weird reason.
Oh, he was so quirky.
Great. Yeah.
He was great. And then when Natoth comes in and she's like, I'm the backup and I'm here to make sure you finish up. And she takes it to Jakar. Remember a couple weeks ago, we were talking about what happens if Jakar and Londo actually get into it. And you talked about Kevin Nash and Rey Mysterio. Yep. She did that to Jakar.
Yeah, totally. So she was Rey Mysterio. Turned it onto Nash. Yeah,
exactly. And she put it through him. And then when it turns out like that was all a ruse to actually out the assassin, who's actually the real assassin, like that was the best part. That was the part that made me go, okay, this is cool. The rest of this episode, I just didn't care. It was as boring as Delenn's new assistant.
Right. Wow. That guy. I couldn't have, Linaire could not have cared less when he walked in. But I want to talk about the fight a little more.
Let's talk about it. Let's do it.
So you brought up the makeup on there. This was such a highlight for the Narn, period. Everybody. Durag was great. I loved his little, his message to him. He looked like old Narn. It looked really good on the TV screen. I lived well. I'm going to die even better. I mean, that fight scene, before the fight scene even, when Jakar wakes up in that black flower, they do the horse's head scene from Godfather. Yeah. But he's just got like this robe on. So you see like his belly and his chest, and they have the makeup and the costume on there. It's seamless. It looked.
I missed that.
Oh my gosh. It looked so good.
You want to know why? Because I was so bored, I wasn't paying attention to the screen.
Well, and frankly, like the pacing there, like it's like, oh, this thing's happening. And now he's in bed, and now there's the flower they just mentioned. That's, oh God, that's pretty.
Well, but the time from when we saw the flower to the time where he actually woke up and screamed felt like it was way too long. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could edit some of that down. Like,
but his scream was awesome. But the makeup was so good, all of it. But when Natoth comes in and she starts, just kicking the living bejesus out of, for the faults that the editing had and the pacing had that we just talked about, this was perfect. The cuts to her, the actor kicking, to the cuts off of the stunt person doing the kicking were near seamless. It looked great. Kicked him out of the thing. Then Jakar gets up, Ultimate Warrior, gorilla press slams Tapari, the assassin, and just hucks him into the, it was great. And the makeup, because these are stunt people, taking these hits. And so they invested the time and the makeup for them. The scene, the timing was great. The writing was great, but the makeup and the lighting, so good. So good. And I don't want to take anything away from Jakar or the guy who's playing Jakar. Like, they're fine. And I'm not asking for them to be replaced, but these two new Narn specifically, and I know Tapari, was that his name? Yeah.
He's not going to be a part of the show going forward, which is fine.
Well, I don't know. Because they sent him off with like the Assassin's Creed or Assassin's
turning that on him where he now has to live with that was fun.
Yeah.
This was 15, maybe 20 minutes of the whole episode. Like if this was a half-hour show, that would have been perfect. Take everything else out, that part would have been perfect. But the rest of it, it just was not good. Okay, can we talk about this? Pain givers? That's the best word you can come up with to tell me what these things are. It's a pain giver.
I think they have the same writing team from Avatar, where they're like, hey, we're going to have this really great thing people have to get. Well, what are we going to call it? Unobtainium.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I can even go with unobtainium because it sounds like something out of X-Men, but like something
giver.
That cheesy. Yeah. It's a pain giver. It's a pain giver. What are those rooms in Star Trek that in the mirror universe that they throw people into?
Right, the agony booth.
The agony booth. Yeah. Like that's a cool name, right? It's the agony booth, right? Or the agonizer. Put him in the agonizer.
I think it's lost in translation. The Narn probably have some awesome name for it, but in broken English.
No, don't give me that. This is people writing in a writer's room who just had no creativity when it came to that. Like like in my head, they're sitting around, okay, what are we going to, I want them to have wrestled with what to call this. And they got to a point where they just said, you have to put something down. You have to come up with a name. What are we going to call it? Just call it a pain giver, man. I got nothing. I've tried. I need to know that they tried and they failed and somebody got fired for it. Okay. Can I talk about something else that I thought was brilliant?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if the writers wrote this or if the actor did this. Drunk Londo getting up on the table, picking up a statue and kissing the goddess's booty.
The goddess of passion.
The goddess of passion. Full lips to the right cheek, kissing her like that was, and then he passes out. Hilarious. Hilarious.
Well, and he didn't just pass out. He was like in touch with his, something. So he was a religious experience.
Self. Yeah. And Garibaldi's like, dude, he just passed out. He's like, well, yeah, that too.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, but also this deeply, deeply spiritual thing. Stand by. We'll be right back. Are you ready to take your Babylon 5 for the first time experience to the next level? With our exclusive Patreon, you'll get access to all kinds of cool stuff that you can only find there. Our recording notes, unedited reaction videos, an exclusive Discord community, and you can even be listed as a producer of the show. Plus, we even offer exclusive meet and greets and hangouts. You won't find this kind of experience anywhere else. Get all these amazing benefits, plus the opportunity to interact with other fans from around the world. It's being part of a huge community where everyone shares the same appreciation for Babylon 5. Subscribe at patreon.com/Babylon5First. That's the number 5 and the word first to get access to these incredible benefits. That's patreon.com/Babylon5First. We can't wait to see you there.
Here, okay. You asked me as a person who has a formal religious training. Obviously, the downside of this episode, the snore fest of this, was going through all these various religious ceremonies. Again, the biggest problem with it was I just didn't care. Earth Alliance said we should do this. I didn't care, and I didn't understand them, and I didn't want to go through them. Now, that being said, kind of watching them was neat. Yeah. Would have been more neat if each one had a chance to be a B plot in their own episode sprinkled throughout the year. You know what I mean? And you had a chance to actually look at the culture and what that says of that particular one, rather than trying to cram all of these in. Do you remember? Okay, I'm going to use my second one. I don't care. You remember the episode in Deep Space Nine where Jadzia got to meet all of her past hosts?
Oh, yeah.
They crammed all of that into one episode. Like, I think she's number 7, right? So she meets 6 of them, and 5 of them happen within like a 10-minute period or 5-minute period, and then they spend the other bulk of the episode on the last one, right?
Yeah.
And like, it was just too compressed. Like, I kind of wanted at some point Dax to go back and interact more with some of those other characters, because I think I was kind of interested in what went on with them, right? I really wish that they would have sat in this and taken their time to go through with these religious ceremonies and bring something to it that makes you care about it. The idea that the Minbari, their religious celebration, actually kind of looks like a marriage as well, so you're not really sure which is which. I need an episode on that, because you can do some stuff with that. They just didn't explore it here.
And the way they dropped it, just like as an afterthought, with like, well, did you eat this? Did you do this? Oh, well, then it could have also been a wedding.
Yeah.
What, really?
Wait, I'm married now?
You're just going to drop that in here? And so I watched this one twice. I watched it. Yeah. Well, I missed a lot, because I got literally the first time through, I got my phone out and I was like, oh, what's happening in the world? I'd rather look at what's happening in the world right now than watch this episode. But so I went and watched it a second time, and I was just like, I could see more. Like, I would not be surprised if there's something where Delenn saw this as some sort of connection with Sinclair or something. Also, and here I'm gonna trigger Sean Van Dam a little bit. Maybe that was just some throwaway thing where they're like, we should probably add a little meaning to that religious thing, because we did 2 of them and neither of them meant a thing.
While you're on Delenn, I think the whole conversation that she had in the corridor with the assistant, where don't call me Satai, that's going to bring up questions that I'm just not ready to answer. Like, we're already on that page. This was our conversation on Soul Hunter 2 episodes ago. 2 episodes, 3 episodes ago, whatever it was.
Recently.
Yeah, like we're already on that page. I'm glad they brought it up again and they just haven't let it go. Like there's going to be there's a thread.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing the thread develop. So I'm glad they did it, but they still did nothing with it. They didn't advance it. They just reminded us. And I need them to take that next step.
I think I'm okay, honestly, with it. It's because, like you said, it was just a couple episodes ago that we learned this. And what this did for me is it showed, I mean, he wouldn't make eye contact with her. The fact like she had to coach him and tell him these things because he's so just like, you're a satai, and so reminding us as the viewers, because it's been a while, at least 2 episodes since we've even seen or had Delenn mentioned. So reminding us, but also big deal. Like this is clearly a big deal. And so she's squashing it. I think if they hadn't addressed it, it could have gotten weird at some point. Like, why is he just calling her Delenn if he holds her in such high regard? Oh, because she explicitly told him to.
And I can see where like that conversation and introducing this character and all of that, I can see how that is going to be super important later on. Yeah. And I even recognize that while it's in the middle of it. Like I can see why that's there. That does not make this episode any more interesting though.
No,
it did not save this episode. Like I can see in the introduction of Catherine, she's probably going to become a character that we see throughout the course of the show.
I think we're going to get the drop in, right? It's going to be the Cassidy Yates of there's mine of Babylon 5, right? She's out serving. Cassidy Yates was doing her cargo runs and doing things, got wrapped into a really cool Maquis storyline. Went to, just excellent stuff, cool stuff they did with her. Catherine, right, out doing her survey stuff. Is something going to happen there, right? Where she's off doing something nasty that Sinclair has to make a call on. So yeah, I'm here for the Catherine stuff in there, but on the Delenn Lanier thing, like that scene was like 4 or 5 minutes. It was very long that they spent to make that point.
I can just say, point taken. It's hammered home. You don't have to hammer it anymore.
Yeah, we're on board.
Like I got it.
Yeah.
It's locked in. What's the next step in this whole, because I want to know. So what's the next step? Just please do it in a more interesting way. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I think too, we were talking earlier about, we signed on for 110 episodes or whatever. Yeah. That's not that many episodes, really. And so, like I can sit here and say, no, it worked for me. It was just a couple episodes ago we learned, but also you've got limited time to tell this story. Yeah.
The only other thing I had really was back to the Centauri celebration where we see the females again, they have the bald head with the Egyptian prince thing. So I know where we were kind of having that question a few episodes ago, like, is this how all females are? Is this whatever? Like, apparently this is going to be the difference between the males and the females in the Centauri. And that gets confirmed. Kind of nothing really to do with the episode itself, but we learned a few things. First of all, the opening credits have changed.
Yes.
To include scenes from the last couple of episodes. Super cool. It's kind of like Marvel movie stuff.
Right. Yeah. It builds up each time.
Right?
Yeah.
So we have that. But then the other thing that we learned, just a couple of factual things about the station. I actually freeze framed these and took a picture so that I could look at them because I was just really curious and I'm a nerd like that. The very opening, I guess it's the second shot of this episode where they're in customs and Garibaldi's having that conversation about the dude with the knife that was not important at all.
It's important to people who played Mass Effect because that scene actually plays out in Mass Effect just as an homage.
Really?
Yeah. It's almost beat for beat. It happens.
Like they intended it as an homage for Babylon 5.
I don't know, but like when I watched, this is the second time I watched it, I'm just like, this is that conversation that was happening in the Citadel. Maybe it's that.
Cool. Brent doesn't play Mass Effect, folks, but Jeff does.
I love that game.
And I know we've had some comments of people like, Mass Effect. So yay for people who love Mass Effect. Anyway, the signs that were up in customs. This one says atmosphere caution. There are 6 different atmospheres currently available on B5. Didn't know that.
Okay.
And it also says that others may be created by prior arrangement. Uncommon atmospheric makeups may be synthesized for encounter suits for specific atom or atmochemical, whatever. Yeah. And then again, it gets cut off by the end of the screen. So anyway, just a point of fact, there are 6 different atmospheres and we see them go between different atmospheres from time to time, right? Which is kind of cool. So it also says this in a second picture that time on Babylon 5 is on Earth mean time, EMT.
Wow.
Oh gosh, here I'm gonna use my third one. So like in Star Trek, they say like, oh, they keep us on Starfleet time. Like all starships, no matter where they are, is on San Francisco time.
Yeah.
Just to keep everybody on the same page. Exactly, because there is no day or night in space, right?
And then that way you can keep common time. Oh, I'm going to meet you at 0400. Great, that's this time for everything. Yeah.
Right. And it goes on to talk about exchange rates and different things like that. Babylon 5 is administered by the Earth Alliance. I don't think I've probably heard the phrase Earth Alliance before, but it's not stuck out to me. Where we talk about the different states that the countries are now in. And then there's another one that's real blurry. You couldn't get a clear shot on, but it talks about there's 3 basic gravity, and then it gets cut off, and things are engineered to people's needs as well. And then blah, blah, blah. So 3 different types of gravity.
6 atmospheres.
6 atmospheres. And we're on Earth meantime.
Wow. That's cool stuff to know, but also what incredible attention to detail for a mid-90s set, right? Like,
absolutely.
That stuff doesn't always survive the move to modern screens. That's impressive.
Jeff, did you have anything else about this episode? Because the Jakar stuff was awesome.
It was.
Let me ask you this. When Jakar first saw that video, and he's like, someone's coming for you, and you're going to live in fear until it happens, and then you're going to die. Was there a part of you that were like, yeah, nobody's actually coming after him? This is just to completely psych him out.
100%. In fact, again, like the second time, the value in the second watch, when Tapari is like, has him in the pain givers and stuff, he's like, all right, here are my instructions. I got to make you live in fear for a long time. Then I got to make you suffer for a long time. Then I got to kill you at the appointed hour. And so like, just masterful in the whole piece of like, just drop the thing that the first time around, I'm like, nobody's coming. It's going to be not a ha, but it's going to be a, you're an idiot because you were afraid sort of a piece. But it caused that paranoia for him. And Tapari, other than not being able to kill him, incredible assassin. Like, he did a great job following instructions. Great job following instructions. Yeah.
Until Natoth came in and totally she got everything over on him. And I'm just going to say one more time, I really like Natoth. I really hope she sticks around.
I like her and Jakar together. Like, she's great on her own, but like when they're going down the corridor and they're like, haha, we got that. I'm just like, oh man, I want these two all the time. This is great. That's
a much better relationship than Jakar and the one who got blown out of an airlock that we didn't see, aka recasted. Because the character didn't work. They brought her in to be a conflict source with Jakar, and it was the wrong move. Now they have Natoth in, who's going to be like an equal level assistant.
Yeah.
Which is different than what we see with Londo and
Veer. Yeah. Veer Koto.
Who, by the way, Veer is in the opening credits.
Yeah.
So he's a guy. Like, he's not just a secondhand guy. Like, he's a cast member guy.
I feel like that was like the biggest thing this episode did, was now everyone in the opening credits has been on screen.
And I really hope Natoth comes into the opening credits, because I really like her.
She's there.
But is she?
Yeah. She's been
really?
And she's been in them for a while. And so like,
did they like go retro that or something?
I don't know, but like for the last couple, Lenier's been in them, Natoth has been in them, Veer's been in it for a while.
Good, because she needs to stay. Like, and that's what I mean, comparing it to Londo and Veer. Like, Veer's an idiot.
Yeah, he's the joke.
And exactly. And that's not going to be the case here with Natoth. So I'm super excited to see how this one goes out.
Well, I had a couple thoughts on this one. First, I did not want to like Catherine and Sinclair. I wanted to hate everything about that, but they actually have some chemistry. Like, it kind of worked for me. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that it was spaced out enough through the episode that it wasn't just in your face kind of made it work. But here's the 2 big things I got. Actually 3 that I got that were big. First, I feel like I'm starting to get the Centauri a little more with their religious piece that they had in there. It was like the hedonistic Roman bathhouses, right? Just wine and just food and stuff, women and just whatever. Uh-huh. Like, they are the Roman Empire just past its peak, where they're still living that high lifestyle, but they don't have the stuff to back it up anymore. But what I found most interesting in them is that their dominant religious celebration that they chose to share with everybody is focused on the complete annihilation and genocide of the Zon. So they were fighting the Zon, and at the end of each year, they'd count how many Centauri had survived. And I think it's Garibaldi asks, well, how many Zon survived? He says, none, not a single one. And so their core religious celebration is about wiping out another species. And so I think between this, when Jakar talks about wiping out the Centauri and turning their bones into flutes for young Narn, it's just hitting me how offhandedly Babylon 5 tosses like complete genocide and speciescide out. Like, yep, we're just going to completely annihilate a species. And it's just, okay, that's a thing. The flip side to that, though, is the Minbari religious ceremony. I feel like what I envisioned was the writer's room. And they went in that day and someone wrote on the board, they said, Minbari, overly reverent ceremony. And then like the fire alarm went off or something. And they couldn't go back into that room until the day they had to print the scripts. And they're like, we'll just do this, I guess. It meant nothing. I don't even know what you're saying. And you're eating some red thing. I loved, was it Garibaldi? I think he's just like, yeah, I'm not eating this. Like, I'm not even going to do it. It's like, good for you.
You know, here's the thing about that particular ceremony. Sinclair wasn't the only one to eat the fruit. Pretty sure Jakar did. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure Londo did. Pretty sure whatever. Like, yeah,
Londo ate it before she even said to eat it. He's like, oh, cool.
Right. And so did Veer, right? He's like, yeah, go ahead. It's good.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I get they said later that it had to do with how long you looked at somebody or whatever, but I'm kind of like, dude, who's she actually get married to? Yeah. Like, everybody ate. Yeah. Like, you know, is that what you do? You sit around and everybody eats and then somebody just locks eyes with you and, oh, now you're married? Like, I need more. I'm not saying I am. I'm saying I could be interested more in the history of this Centauri thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I need a little bit more than just an exposition drop on what this looks like, because that's an interesting take that you have on that whole scene that I didn't see into it. But now that you pointed out that way, I'm like, okay, I'm with you on that. Yeah. Like, that's kind of neat, and a neat way of looking at it to compare it to the Romans.
Yeah, just the pageantry and the colors and I couldn't think of another word, but just the hedonism.
The bathhouse, you put the idea of the bathhouses and stuff in there, like, you know, everybody's sitting at the table, and it definitely has that vibe.
Loud, drunk, you know, and just the whole, just
hey, excess. By the way, that's the party I want to be at.
Right. Can I go to the Minbari one or Centauri? Please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go to the Centauri. Thank you. I'm not, like I said, I'm not even that big of a drinker.
Yeah.
But it just looks more fun.
Looks like a lot more fun.
They might sing a shanty while we're in there.
Or 2 or 3. Pass out while they're doing it.
That's what we need, Jeff. I need a Centauri shanty, a bar song. That's what we need.
Don't link it. If there's one out there, don't let us find it.
Let us discover it.
Oh, if there is one though, I'm totally going to be like, Brad, it's the shanty. It happened. I'll be all over the Twitters. It happened. Did you think it was weird? So last episode, right, we heard about all these hate crimes and the gangs and all the anti-alien sentiments on Earth that were happening.
Yeah.
Did you find it weird that Earth called for a celebration of all the aliens' religions? Just like one episode after, I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me. And so I guess what I'm wondering is that they were very specific that it was Earth Central that called for this. I don't know. I don't know the relationship of the Earth government.
I don't find that different because the sentiments and stuff that grow on Earth are not necessarily government sentiments. It's sentiments of people.
Yeah.
Now, there could be people that are in the government organizations that share those sentiments. But as far as the organization as a whole, making a move to call for something like this, I don't know. Our government certainly does stuff that is tone deaf to what the people are saying. And this certainly could just be another example of something that is tone deaf, or somebody who's actually in the government who's trying to do the right thing and trying to eliminate racism and all these things that are cropping up. And their way of doing that is by doing this celebration. Although I find it weird that say, yeah, you guys do that celebration way out there.
Yeah.
Are they doing it back on Earth too?
Yeah.
Like,
and if they are, like, what current world state would tell us is that's just begging for conflict, right? Hey, there's already all these hate, gang things going on. Now let's purposely bring together people to celebrate their religions that, yeah. And so maybe it's just that, maybe this is that thing of like Earth paints, one reality. Babylon 5 is the last best hope for peace. And so maybe Earth Central's like, hey, things aren't great here, so let's try and make things at least look great up there.
hey, you guys try it out there first, and if you don't blow each other up,
Yeah. Then maybe we'll do
maybe bring it a little closer. Yeah. So Jeff, speaking of that, then those couple, we have reached that part of the show where it's time to boil it all down and see if the show has any of that Star Trek quality to it. Does it have any deep moral messages, or is it holding up a mirror to society? Is it giving us hope that things are going to be better in the future? We're going to be more unified and not as divided. And we're going to do that by grading the show with 0 to 5 deltas. So Jeff, I'm going to toss it to you first. Is this episode of Babylon 5 Star Trek or not? And should we have watched it sooner?
So I'm going to start with the other piece first. Should I have watched it sooner? So the episode starts and is focused on Jakar. So it's going to be good. I loved every part of Jakar's thing. Even when Garibaldi like pulled out the underwear and he's like, dude, hot pink.
That was funny.
That was good. Like, I don't know what they were playing it for.
You know what my thought was when he pulled that out was like, Garibaldi's obviously pulling this out, trying to imply something. And I'm like, dude, how long have those been there? Those could have been there for a long time. And Jakar's like, yeah, I don't even remember where those are from.
He pulls them out and like they're just standing straight on their own. It's just
like, I thought something smelled in here.
I think it starts out pretty good, right? In that, and then it just plods and goes so slowly.
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched this one twice. I don't want to watch it again. There's parts of it I would watch. I'd watch that fight scene with Natoth and stuff. I'd watch that 20 more times. That was great.
Yep.
Episode as a whole, no, I don't think so. But I think to take this and look at it compared to Star Trek, one of the foundations of Star Trek when it started was that humanity, whatever, I mean, Earth had moved, quote unquote, past the need for religion on there.
Right.
And that despite the fact that religion plays a role in every series of Star Trek from here to forever.
Including the original series.
Exactly. Like it's there. I mean, Kirk presides over a patently Christian wedding ceremony. Sure. So it's like, okay, yeah, we're past it, but we still totally do it. Here in Babylon 5, we're doing like the opposite. We're embracing the diversity of religion. And that final scene with Sinclair where he lined up, I mean, I loved how they did the scene. It was just this endless line of people representing faiths as, diverse as an atheist, a Roman Catholic, Oglala Sioux, and I loved how, I mean, they did use the word Eskimo to describe a person, which we don't use anymore. We're smarter now than we were in the mid 90s, but I love that they wrapped in indigenous faiths into the whole thing, but just to show in that line, the way it went on forever and ever, that Earth's dominant religion is all of these religions. And I feel like that almost makes it anti Star Trek in what it is. That said, Deep Space Nine really felt like anti-Star Trek and how it focused on religion, and it challenged a lot of Roddenberry's things. And in the end, I think it actually more firmly affirmed a lot of Roddenberry's vision by challenging it. So 0 to 5 deltas is tough because I have to decide if I'm optimistic about where Babylon 5 is going to go with this or not, to decide if this is a Star Trek-like episode or not. And I want to be optimistic, but I'm also a pragmatist. And so I'm going to give this one 2 deltas out of 5 with the hope that this takes us to a place that embraces religion the way Deep Space Nine ultimately did. Yeah, we're not religious fanatics anymore, but we still see value in faith overall. How about you?
I want to talk about that. I want to bounce off of what you're saying as I'm launching into mine. As you're talking about that final scene, that final shot really of the episode. And what I loved about that is, and I think I missed it until the very end, but the rest of the celebrations that were happening had the caveat, had the little asterisk next to them of the major religion of your people, right? And when it came time for Earth, we lined all of these people up. Now, if you simply talk about quantity on Earth, I think the 3 major religions are some form of Christianity, Hinduism, and Muslim.
Islam.
I think it's those 3. Those are the top 3. And once you get to number 4, when you're just talking about sheer number of participants, adherents, the drop off is drastic, right?
Yeah.
And I think the other 3 are fairly even. I could be wrong. I haven't looked at data lately, but regardless, when he made a statement when he lined up all those people, because there was so-and-so of the Sioux. I think he said the Sioux faith, not the Sioux
Nation. It was the
Nation.
Oglala Sioux faith. So a specific faith
there
within the Sioux. Yeah.
Yes, that right there. And then, you mentioned the Eskimo piece, when I'm glad you brought up what you did about that. And then honestly, they talked about was it the Shinto?
Shinto.
They gave Shinto. Thank you. They gave like all of these people equal standing without regard for the number of adherents to their thing, to say on earth, there is no major religion. Like no matter how small you are, how big you are of equal standing and you are of equal value. And I love that. And honestly, regardless if that has to do with faith or race or religion or anything else, that is one of the most Star Trek messages I could ever have. And it happened within 23 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
And it's the most Star Trek thing about this whole episode. So for that, I'm going to give this a half of a delta.
Wow.
It's not that Star Trek of an episode, but I will give this a caveat. Not every Star Trek episode is a Star Trek episode either.
That's a great point.
And I don't want people to I don't bring that up. Like, oh, not every Star Trek episode talked about, the utopia or the hope for the future or whatever. I'm well aware of that. I've seen them all 47 times. I say at the beginning of every single show of my other podcast. But as far as, is this a Star Trek episode? I don't think it is. Not very much. This episode had some fun elements, was mostly boring for me anyway. I certainly see where there is places where they're trying to move the story forward. It was just so like pulling teeth getting there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So should we have watched this one sooner? No. Would I want to watch it again? No. Yeah. I'm happy with my one viewing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to know that, but I'm glad to have Natoth on board. Linear, whatever, we'll see about him. Catherine, I need more. I could get down with this relationship. I really could. I just need more and see where they're going to go with it. I'm intrigued by what she's going to do and where she's going to go. But yeah, I give it a half a delta, and I don't really want to see it again. Yeah. I don't really care if I would have seen it before now.
Oh, we did it. We got through Parliament of Dreams. Switch to your earlier point. No Parliament, no dreams in the whole thing. Next week, we're going to be watching Mind Wars for the next time. Now, we've never seen these. We're not watching ahead. We're not looking at pictures. We're not getting any spoilers. So we like to play this little game where we guess what's going to be on the episode. And I'll tell you what, I think we've not come close even one time so far on this one. So Brent, what do you think is going to happen in Mind Wars?
Jeff, next week could be my final episode on this podcast.
Wow.
Because if Mind Wars is not about Psycor and is not about the telepaths, I'm out. I'm done with this show. That's what it's got to be. It's got to be about the telepaths and the Psycor thing. I think specifically Psycor, but it's got to be about the telepaths.
Yeah, I could not possibly agree more. I don't know if I'm out. I don't know if I'm that far. Like, I feel like I'm in this for the long haul, but yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Talia in 13 episodes so far. She made whatever. And I think we've had 2 mentions of Psycor and everything. And all we've had is questions based on that. So answer some of our questions. Give us some new ones, maybe. Right. Yeah. I'm 100% on board. When I saw Mind Wars, one of 2 things. It's either going to be Psycor and the telepaths, or something so unrelated to this that there's no possible way I could have ever guessed it without having watched the series before.
Which would be like the last bunch of episodes that we have seen. Yeah. It's just, I'm begging, please let this one be about Psycor. And because that's the thread that I'm still the most interested in out of all of them. Like, I remember go back to that first episode, Midnight on the Firing Line, where I was like, that whole thing is nasty, and I want to dive into that.
Yeah, like, Ivanova and Talia doing their thing. More of that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to find out right here next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us. And on wherever you're listening to us, give us that star, give us the thumbs up, give us a rating. And whether you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or not, totally fine. Use whatever podcatcher you want, but drop by Apple, right? Just go there real quick, rating, review, type it up on there, give us that piece. Brent, you've said it so well. It's so important for those reviews. It's not that it's going to help us in the algorithm. It's not some magic thing. Tell them about social proof, Brent.
Yeah, you guys know this. You go to Amazon and you're looking up a thing, and the first thing you look at when you're trying to go, okay, I'm looking for a new toaster, and there's 53 toasters on the screen. Which one am I going to get? You look at the reviews. You look to see what the stars are. And then you go to the one that has 4.5 stars or 5 stars, and you pull it up and you go, okay, let's see what some people have said. And you look at it, and you make your decision on which toaster to buy really based off of that, don't you? It's what I do. And that's the way people do with podcasts. They're scrolling through, they see something on there. If it's got a lot of ratings, if it's got a lot of reviews, they go, okay, this must be a good one. They will look at a couple of reviews, maybe more, and then they subscribe. And that's how you help grow the show and grow the community. And, who knows? You might write a review, Jeff might read it.
Totally.
And somebody might email in talking to you, which is kind of neat. I've seen that happen before in the podcast world too. So that's social proofing. You guys go out there and do that for us. Helps us out just a ton, because it lets the world know that you like our show.
And 100%, you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, you're going to get some love on our Twitter. It's at Babylon First. It automatically sends out a little tweet saying that you left the review and puts it there for everybody to see. Well, listen, next week right here, Babylon 5 for the first time, not a Star Trek podcast, and Mind Wars. So thank you for joining us on this, our last Best Hope for Peace. Live long and prosper. I got it out. I did it. Okay.
You better. There you go. One. I can't even. Not anymore. We've said it so many times.
This is my first time.